6 human movement patterns. Does anyone have an idea what we mean by the 6 human patterns? Take your best guesses. Anyone can go.
All the movements.
Push, hinge, squat, or carry.
Carry, there we go. And then how many pushes and pulls are there?
A lot.
How many directions can we push and pull?
Vertical.
Up and down, front and back, pretty much. Yeah, you can pull and push, pull and push. So technically there's 8. We had barbell rehab come this weekend, which was a third-party contingent education class. Dr. Ben calls it the Ocho, which I thought was really good because that includes the vertical and horizontal push and pull. And then instead of carry, they have core, but a lot of times carries kind of cover the same basis. If I make you carry 2 70-pound kettlebells, it's going to be very engaging on your belly area, well, trunk, from rib cage down. So yeah, you already got them because I think we teased it a few times. We probably said it over and over because once you go through all this and you guys get to writing a program and then also like substituting exercises, if you get out of your education brain for a second, where they teach you very heavy anatomical stuff, like you got to memorize the bones and the tendons. You guys do that stuff, right? Yeah. You just memorize the things that connect in the body from this to that and this to that.
The whole physio lab is like muscle then.
Yeah. Do you guys get to work on cadavers, or is that
no
master's program stuff?
Yeah, that's like
that'd be cool. I want to do that. But very similar. You just look at muscles and you're like, this is this, this is this, this is this. What if you look carefully, like when you're looking at the shoulder, you're looking at the hip. If we talk about external rotation, internal rotation of the shoulder, is there one muscle that does both of those? Just one? No, there's a lot. It's a global system with a lot of backups. So if you're a diagnoser, like a PT, AT, whatever, very important for you to really know what's causing what's doing what's the most likely thing that we can go after here. But if you're a personal trainer or you're just trying to make someone move better, we've talked about this before, we're just looking at the movement patterns, the Ocho or the foundational 6, if we want to include push, pull, vertical, horizontal, and just really nailing those down in our head so that we can make programming choices, exercise swap choices, and just understand kind of how things move in a general sense. You can get very specific, but we're just going to learn a lot of broad picture stuff and then kind of dive in from there. Joseph, anything else?
You agree.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, so we'll go joint by joint. There's such a glare on this. Oh, my leg. Joint by joint, force production versus force absorption, muscle action and movement, 6 human movement patterns, fixing common issues, okay? So, joint by joint, mobility, stability, balance across the kinetic chain. I think we've touched on this a little bit. Found fundamental principle in human movement is the joint by joint approach, which suggests that each joint alternates in its primary need for mobility or stability. If you look at the bottom and work your way up, we have is our ankle mobile or stable? Very mobile, right? You can think about it like how much can it rotate versus is it just like a hinge that kind of sits between. As we move up, you'll kind of notice that in between both limbs, we have a stable joint. So I've got mobile here, stable here, mobile here, okay? The leg is basically just your arm, but bigger and cooler, okay? Shoulder is your wrist mobile or stable? Very mobile. Elbow, mobile or stable? Shoulder, mobile or stable? Okay. So it is that way from the hips up too. So our lumbar spine, where the SI joint is, these pretty little elephant wings here, and where the sacrum connect to it, that little joint right there, I think Joseph touched on this, I'm not tall enough, is the same up here. So this joint right here is very similar to this joint on your tailbone, very stable. But the body likes mobility and stability stacked, so we can have a lot of good articulation through the joints with some stability in between, so we can produce force through stable joints, mobilize joints, move dynamically, do some fun stuff. So ankles, mobility, and dorsiflexion, but we've got dorsiflexion, we've got plantar flexion, eversion, extroversion, is that what it's called? Outversion, goes in and out, rotates all over the place. The knee does rotate a little bit, but not much. So this, I think, grossed out last semester, but the knee goes like this, right? bends back and forth. It also goes like this. Watch this. Ready? See that? See how far my shin bone can come over? So there is some, if you put your arm like this, huh? See that? Yeah. Well, so I work on this. My knees have been messed up quite a few times, so I try to keep my knees as mobile as they can be. If they get stiff, I start to cry at night. A lot of really, really sad nights. My wife holds me like a baby. Anyway, the knee can move a little bit, but it's a relatively stable joint. These give it a lot of mobility, so our quads, hamstrings, and stuff can do a lot of operational stuff. Kick stuff, kick people if you're feeling it. It's able to resist unwanted lateral or rotational movements. Then we've got the hips, mobility in multiple planes, flexion, extension, rotation. I've also talked about this a little bit. To simplify it for your brain, my arm and my leg, for all intents and purposes, are the same thing. Joints are different, muscles are different, they don't have the same names, but they both internally rotate, they both externally rotate, they both flex horizontally, abduct, extend, go like this and this, this and this. They both can do that. So your hip and shoulder can do very similar things. Like if you imagine yourself a monkey running around or like an animal, they're the same way. I don't have to make you visualize this, but a lumbar spine, stability to maintain neutral alignment, relatively neutral alignment. A very cool thing we went over in barbell rehab, which we've seen before, but I was reminded of it. I'm sure you guys, while lifting or on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or MySpace, whatever you've been on, have seen like, we want to keep a neutral spine, a relatively neutral spine. Yes? So, cool thing, if you are looking at someone do a deadlift and they're at the bottom and you see a relatively neutral spine, the thing we learned is there's up to 23 degrees of mobility in that lumbar spine at the bottom that you can't visually see. So the lumbar spine is moving 20-ish degrees without your visual ability to notice it. So it may look like they're perfectly neutral through the back. In reality, the lumbar spine has tilted back or forth. Well, typically it comes under a little bit, but up to 20 degrees. So neutral spines are not safe. It can be beneficial for some people to stay in a more neutral position. It also can be really beneficial for some people to stay in a more extended position where we see like anterior pelvic tilt. Some people who don't like being in this position on their low back, I put them in this position, feels great. Some people that don't like this position, we give them a little more flexion in their lower back, it feels much better. So there's no bad movements, there's just loading it too much. I just want to hit that one really aggressively at the beginning. Just so you kind of start to get that one. There's no bad movements, just poor loading patterns. Underprepared, and I think Dr. Ben kind of hammered that on us this whole weekend was there's no bad movements, there's just lack of preparation, which is general physical preparedness. We just want to make people robustly strong. Thoracic spine, mobility to extend and maintain upright posture. Your thoracic spine is like here up. Moves the whole top half of your rib cage. It's the one that comes out like this, okay? We can do extension, we can do flexion of the lumbar spine. It also rotates back and forth or left to right. It can rotate like this as well, like a cork. Your lumbar spine starts where your ribs start, just for ease of thinking of this. So, or your thoracic spine, sorry. Your thoracic spine starts where your ribs start and moves up from there, and then you have the cervical spine up top. Cervical spine, stability to avoid hyperextension or forward head posture. It also keeps the thing that holds your brain inside of you still-ish. So cervical spine is where the brainstem comes out of. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. Brainstem is kind of important. Would you all agree? Sort of, yeah. Okay, so that's the joint by joint. Joseph, anything on the joint by joint you want to add?
More joints equals better.
Yeah. Now that's not a bad idea. Anyway, he's not wrong. Force absorption versus force production. What is force absorption? What do you guys think? Without reading it, close your eyes. Don't look at it. What is force absorption?
How well you can hold force.
Okay. No wrong answers. Fire them away.
Well, you can.
You can use the word absorb.
Yeah.
Is it the concentric, the isometric, or the eccentric phase of a movement? Force absorption. Typically eccentric, yeah? Okay. Force production then is what? Yeah, so when we produce force, we're pushing something away, contracting muscles. Absorbing force, we are eccentrically loading. The fibers kind of tighten up and then reduce speed. Force absorption occurs during the eccentric phase where the muscle lengthens under load to decelerate the body and absorb force, okay? So a good example is if you are running forward and you go to stop and your foot comes forward, the speed is going this way. You're traveling this way, your quad is shortening this way, decelerating you, okay? So we're trying to absorb force. If I go to jump, there's the amortization phase where the muscle does the stretch shortening cycle, where you go to here and then here. There's somewhere in the middle where I go to turn around, where there's like an elastic band effect, okay? That's just stored energy, but you could also just produce force by producing force. So if I sat down and one of you walked up and I wanted to kick you in the shin, there's really no amortization phase or stretch shortening. I'm just contracting the muscle and seeing how far I get, if I can kick you or not, if you're close enough or not. Hopefully you are. So force production occurs during the concentric, shortens, generate force, allowing the body to overcome resistance and move upwards. For our older population, why do you think both of these are important? Anyone can answer, no wrong answers.
They can prevent themselves from falling by
Yep.
absorbing the force, but then also if they do fall, they can produce the force to get back up.
Yes, so that's a great answer. Amelia the Mayor is a genius, just remember that. So someone who goes to fall and they step, if they are falling, I have to do what to stop myself first? My body is a mass, yes. It now has some acceleration towards gravity, yes. I have to absorb the force. And then when I'm done absorbing the force, now I'm in this weird position. What do I have to do to get out of this? Produce force, okay? So in our older population specifically, if they don't have the requisite strength to produce force, they probably don't have the requisite strength to absorb the force. Can you produce more force or resist more force, absorb more force? Is your eccentric phase stronger or your concentric phase stronger? Does anyone know the answer?
I'm going to guess eccentric.
Yeah, it's I think anywhere from like 30 to 45% more load you can absorb in an eccentric phase than you can a concentric phase. So if I have someone, 75-year-old comes in who does not have the concentric strength to do a lunge, backwards even, not even forwards, do you think that they have the eccentric strength to hold themselves up? Or if they fall, can they stop themselves? They don't have the concentric strength. Maybe they have the eccentric strength. And if they don't have the eccentric strength, do they have the concentric strength? No. No. Because your eccentric is so much stronger, I can, if I can't get them to lower themselves down with their own leg, am I concerned that they can't push themselves off the ground? Because they can't manage their own body weight at that point. So eccentrics are great to work, especially in the older populations. It can cause a little more soreness. You kind of have to work up to it. But I can load the eccentrics a little bit more. I can add more mechanical tension to the system. We can make them stronger, muscles bigger. Every 75-year-old wants to be jacked, right? Thank you. Thanks, buddy. Okay. Absorption first, production. Absorption, the muscle action, muscles lengthen. Eccentric contraction to decelerate movement. Production, muscles shorten. Concentric action to generate acceleration movement. Joint mechanics, when we are doing force absorption, there is external rotation of a joint to increase joint stability and prepare for force deceleration. Internal rotation of the femur and tibia to generate force and drive movement. The easiest way to think about this is anyone throwing a punch into a bag, a brother, whoever, hopefully not a loved one. Unless they're family, then go right ahead. Don't. But if you threw a punch, would you throw a punch like this? Why not?
I mean, if you're in Kung Fu.
Why not? Absolutely not. Correct. So I wouldn't kick like this, right? If you watch any jumping, like if you watch, does anyone know what the penultimate step is? When a basketball player drives in, their leg ends up like this, they kind of step like that, and they push off the ground. I think it's with this leg. But we have internal rotation it gets the bones closer to your center of mass, turns everything in, you can produce more force down to the ground. You would never throw a punch like this. That's why we don't do kung fu and fighting anymore. So internal rotation for producing force, external rotation for absorbing force. Sometimes it's very subtle. So it's not always like throwing a punch where I would go like this to throw my punch and snap it out. Sometimes it's very little movements of the bones, like especially when you're squatting. You go through phases of internal and external rotation. It's a little more complicated, but generally speaking, we produce internal rotation. And even if you watch my arm, if I internally rotate, it brings everything towards the center line. And if you guys pushed on my hand right here, am I strong out here or am I strong right here? If I bring everything close to my center line, the muscle a little more shortened, I get a little more purchase with the muscle, okay? Pelvic position, counter rotation of the pelvis for increased mobility and stability during the descent. Nutation of the pelvis to stabilize the sacrum and assist in force production. So we were just talking about the pelvis tipping back and forth, okay? If we open up like this, the bowls get offset. We don't have as much ability to produce force for a lot of reasons. But generally speaking, we want to get our lower pelvic floor and our rib cage together so the pump can work and everything can pressurize here. Is anyone squatted very heavy? This is the position for the most part, if you're powerlifting, you want to be in, not this hyperextended position. Not that it's necessarily dangerous, but it is not as advantageous for producing force and resisting force for the most part. So we just want to kind of keep things in a general alignment while we do things for reasons. The reason I kind of say that is because we don't need to be dogmatic about people being in perfect positions. If you have only squatted like a power lifter, ribs are really tight down, you're kind of like internally rotated, packed down against the bar, kind of looks like you're squishing yourself, and you walk into an Olympic gym, everyone you will see will be in hyperthoracic extension. They are vertical, they're kind of curved this way on their back, and they're trying to stay as vertical as humanly possible to use their quads, also set themselves up for their jerk position, okay? So there's a lot of ways to cut the cheese here. For the most part, we want to think about joint centration, things relatively aligned. So when I'm squatting, I don't want someone's squat to look like this for the most part. I actually do have a client who that's how his squat looks. And when he came in, he couldn't sit down. Not because of any pain, just a severe lack of strength in the legs. And now he's doing goblet squats, albeit like this when he stands up. No knee pain, no hip pain, can do a lunge relatively well with the knee to the ground now with a little hand support. But he is also doing 40-pound goblet squats to this bench. When he came in, it was 2 hands on, and then 1 hand on and 1 hand on my hand pulling him back up. So do we have to have perfect joint centration? No. We just need clients and some people to move the best way they can move and just help them through that. Maybe we can clean it up along the way. Maybe we can get a little bit more like fundamental textbook looking movements. That's great. And that's what I am working on with him. But I can't just try to slice that one out immediately and make him do it because we're working at a lot of deficits. He's got a lot of his own things he's working on. But I could have stifled his growth by forcing him to squat a certain way rather than making him feel really strong and going from not being able to squat to a 5-pound squat within like the first month and then 10 pound, 15 pound, 20 pounds. So he moved up relatively quickly, super confident. He comes 3 times a week very consistently. So we want people to feel good in their shoes, not leave here and be like, man, I suck, my body sucks, everything sucks, life sucks. Bad things.
So everybody stand up. Just make this really easy.
My water.
I don't really care the style of jump that you're gonna do, but you're gonna jump. And so to me, it doesn't matter if you're like gonna go with a counter movement jump, which means you're going to drop down and then go up. So you're countering the movement to get more load. I don't care if it's hands on hips and it's a traditional squat jump, which is where you load and then just jump. But I just want you to jump however you want and then land just once. Oh, we got tuck jump to like little baby barely got off the floor. She's like, I lift weights. I actually can't jump. Well, you didn't show me.
Well, let's see it then.
So, yeah. Okay, cool. Self-analyze. So self-analyze. So everybody jumped. And if you need to do this multiple times, I didn't prep you on purpose. But when you went up, What do you feel was happening with your body? Where did your knees go? Where did your hips go? Where did your torso go? Just describe it. Up. Cool.
I like that.
Hips kind of went back, I'd say, midair.
Hips went back midair.
Yeah, so I could,
So you went up and then your hips went back.
not with that kind of jerking motion, but like brace myself for the landing.
On the way down.
Yeah, on the way down.
Cool. So not up in midair.
Yeah, you're
'Cause that would be a really cool party trick.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my
On the
hips
decline.
went forward a little bit when I was in the air.
Sweet.
And they go back.
Okay, so now we analyze the flight part. Jake has a really phenomenal, his hips go back, never seen before.
He
But
gets
everybody
flat
else
in
jumped
midair.
normal, which is cool. It's because he's into calisthenics.
Yeah.
They're always weird.
We
Yeah.
gotta drop this.
Yeah. Hey, we had a guy do a one-handed handstand in here.
We did.
Oh,
He,
isn't that really tall guy?
No.
no, it was wild.
Yeah, and then he was like showing like his like human flagpole.
Yeah.
I'm working on that one too.
There was
Yeah.
this one guy.
But then he deadlifted 355 pounds.
We got him to hit a PR, and he's your size.
Yeah, he PR'd. He PR'd 3 times. We just kept being like, go up, dude, we got
We
it.
changed his entire form. I was like,
Yeah, that's
okay,
true.
we're gonna get off track. That was really fun though. So when you did the actual part where you were loading up the body, where did you feel like the ankles went, the knees went, the hips went? Did they go in? Did they go out?
They go out.
They went out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because you went like this, they would hurt.
It would hurt.
Yeah.
Sweet. So then how do you land?
Out.
So it's always out. So like everything is just perfectly symmetrical, just really rigid.
Not when you're up in air, they're straight.
Yeah, okay, cool. So now here's what we're gonna do. Everybody drop down into a fairly deep squat position, all right? Too deep. Hands on hips, hands on hips. Now, I want you to try and stand up. Push against me, stand up. Where'd you feel your knees and stuff go? Ready, go. Drop down. Cool, drop down.
This squat too long now.
You can hold it.
I think they want to go in,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
but I
You already know all this.
The stability. This is not good for you.
So this is why I'm stopping us and having us test some things, because he just gave you 2 amazing slides and talked to everybody and you guys all took notes. This is not a knock on you. This is just a hard concept.
Yeah.
But if you get this concept, you actually understand biomechanics. So when you are in force production, when you are coming out of the hole, the only way that we get out of the hole is to have internal rotation. So we have the foot does a slight collapse, the tibia internally rotates, the femur internally rotates, because this joint is collapsing down tighter. If we're here, it's open, right? It's externally rotated. If it's here, it's internally rotated. Does that make sense? If we have, if we're just going here and going out, we can't put a lot of force into the ground.
Because you want to kind of open up, your body needs to be able to resist or to like do the opposite.
Correct.
It's the same thing if you like watch somebody squat really heavy and their knees go like that.
Go in. Yes. Yes.
If you watch Ethan squat 400 pounds, his knees go like this.
Yes. It's not. It's normal. So we demonize it within the squat, within the deadlift, because they are very rigid, black and white, and we can put frames on them. But we don't demonize it when you're in a full plant and stick, right? But the only way I can drive force is internal rotation for this glute and then this quad to let me take off and go. So if you watch on every single sprint, on every single step, it's an internal rotation, a kickoff, then we externally rotate, we bring back around, we heel strike from an externally rotated position. So think about that. I come through, I'm now externally rotated. So everything is out. Why? Force absorption. Then I transfer in to internally rotate for force production. On the coming out of the hole of a squat, it's our easiest analogy, there will be some internal rotation. I'm not wanting or expecting to see the knees completely collapse, right? That could probably be problematic. But if there is some, it is what is happening. It just may not be happening to the naked eye, but that should be happening for us to produce enough force into the ground to get on up and out. When we are landing, when we are dropping down into the squat, we are most stable to absorb that force, that weight. I'm absorbing this force to externally rotate. My femur is externally rotating, opening up the space within my acetabulum. My tibia is externally rotating. My foot is maintaining full foot pressure. Does that make sense? Yes. So same thing on a split squat, right? My pelvis is doing a slight open, and I'm getting some external rotation here. When I go up, you've probably seen it, especially in somebody who is weaker, or they go so far that now, instead of just relying on a little internal rotation to get more of a stretch of those muscles so they can help us produce force, because they're lengthened, right? Here, they're not lengthened, and I need these. I'm taking away my ability to get up. So I'm okay with them having some internal rotation. That's normal for force production.
I feel like I feel it on a split squat more than a
Yep.
squat.
And that's why I wanted...
Really heavy on a split squat.
Well, and especially so
Yeah.
like your adductor magnus on your split squats, the thing that pulls across this way. If you ever watch a skater or even dancers have much larger adductor magnuses, it's trying to pull in, right? The adductor magnus also extends the hip, so it's trying to help you stand up. So part of that, and it's called an adductor whip or a valgus whip. I like adductor whip because valgus makes everyone scared. But when you're trying, I think from a conceptual idea, internal rotation, know that that's not bad. Some valgus, if it doesn't cause any pain, also not bad. But the thing I think to really run home with this that's important to me, especially with biomechanics, is if you get someone in their head too much about this, it's going to make their squat feel weird. Because even like you were saying on your squats, you are actively trying to stop something your brain is trying to do without you you don't know that when you push down, your brain without you knowing is pulling in internal rotation because that muscle's trying to get your femur closer to your pelvis so it can push straight down. So on a squat, I want really good foot pressure. I want really strong back position. I want a good brace. I want a controlled descent, and then I just want you to hammer it home. And whatever happens, happens. If we have a big movement variation, like I've got one leg that snaps in, the other doesn't. I've got a huge hip shift. I've got a big energy leak somewhere. Yeah, we will coach out of that, cue out of that, kind of work through that. If someone's got valgus and every time it triggers pain, we probably want to get out of it. But like this client I have, I wish I could show you guys a video. It's so much knee valgus, his knees hit each other. And he's a very long-legged fella. Zero pain. He's never been in less pain. Is it the most beautiful-looking squat? Absolutely not. But his body is trying to leverage whatever muscle he has in his body. And if you think about how he's squatting, if I can't do this. If I put my legs together, is there anywhere else for my knees to go if I press my legs?
That's why I was confused.
So there's no pain. I'm locking my legs together. If you do this, your hips will burn, but it's not like I don't have extra room for my knee to keep collapsing. Like if you came and kicked my knee down right now, where's my knee going? It's gone, right? ACL's gone, LCL's gone, it's over. If I go like this, the other leg's stopping it. So he's doing something. He is doing a movement pattern that gives him enough stability through his hips to keep pushing up. And then he just gets here, drives his hip out, knees open up. So internal rotation, he's trying to produce force. His brain's like, I got to get this somehow. Is it a motor pattern issue? Probably. He has spent the last, I don't know how many years with this problem. But it's, and like even the sprinters, like if you try to coach a sprinter.
And it's not good. Don't train it.
Or do train it.
Or do
Said
train
principle, specific adaptation to impose demand. Train as much as you want. See how big your MCL will get.
That's true. I'm only going to train my spinal erectors and multifidi after today. See what happens.
But my point is like, movement is movement is movement. If it hurts, we probably got an issue. If it doesn't hurt, don't start fires. Don't be like, oh my God, you're going to die. They're fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Tone it down a little bit. Let's see if we can clean it up a little. I call it the eye test. Dr. Ben called it the vomit test. If you watch someone squat or do something and you're like, oh my God, what is happening right now? Maybe we have a conversation. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so any questions about that?
I got one more piece to help make that easy to remember. We
That
can't
doesn't
even
even do it
imitate it.
justice. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. In a cool way.
All right,
It was kinda
square
cool.
up.
It was wild.
Square up. Whatever side you're with. Okay. Now, whatever side you're punching with, I want you to just throw it really slow of how that would normally go. Okay. Is this concentric that you just did or eccentric? You just punched me eccentrically? That's amazing.
Concentric.
Okay, cool. It's the concentric aspect of a punch, aka a single arm push. Yes? Okay. Did you naturally internally rotate?
Unless you're doing kung fu, as we discussed.
Yeah, because I don't think I can generate. Think about this. I don't think I can generate very much power by like completely externally rotating unless I'm getting an uppercut.
Hear that, Jake?
But this is not going to do much.
That's the last time I speak of it.
So think about it. Concentric punch is doing
go.
what? And am I absorbing force or am I producing force? I internally rotated, I threw a punch, concentrically I produced force. If you ever forget, now just think what is happening on this and it will sink back in. Now if you're going to avoid, you usually are pulling back, you're eccentrically loading and you're externally rotating because you're getting ready to absorb force.
There we
And
go.
apparently you're doing a dance hip shift.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. They do
Did
that.
that help? Okay, because I don't ever want to see a push-up where you're like, okay, let me drop down and do this. Let me like
See it all the
fully,
time.
let me use what I need to produce force, but I'm trying to do it from absorbing force. That's a problem. And the reason the split squat where you see this and then they can't get up and they're like this, they're relying on hanging on the joints. So he talked about joint centration. What's the definition for that?
Being centralized on the joint.
Alignment of joints. This one, this one, this one. Centralized of joints. Alignment. They're aligned. That way I know I'm safe. I'm not wrenching on the joint. If I don't have the musculature, I will default naturally to my force production to get me up because I got to get up. But I don't have the muscles. Well, once a joint runs out of space, it's joint on joint, it's happy. What do you think the mom hip is? I don't want to use the musculature because this baby is heavy and I'm exhausted and I got no sleep. Let me hang on this hip. Prop the baby up on it and not use as much musculature because it's exhausting. So our body will default, if we don't have enough muscle, to still find a way to either produce or absorb force. Does all that concept make sense?
Any
Sweet.
questions?
Does the adductor flicker happen? Flutter?
Whip.
Whip.
Whip? Does it happen on the back foot in a split squat also, or a lunge, or not really?
It's probably stabilizing. If you're stepping back on a lunge, because you're absorbing force, it's probably trying to keep your femur closer to your pelvis, because that's what the adductor does. It extends and internally rotates, so in AB ducts, AD ducts. So it's trying to pull in and stabilize. So there's probably some eccentric loading on the back foot if you put weight on it. But even on the front foot, as I step down, because it does this, it's always trying to grab on and hold on from here to here, like my groin to my knee is trying to keep it here. Where the abductors are, like it's working on both sides to stabilize on the way down. And then as I push up, if I'm too far out, it can help me pull back in and step through.
The back leg on a lunge, what you'll usually see more often than not, you'd be like, you look and you see like, this side looks good. And then you see somebody go to the other side and then you'll see this. I'm exaggerating it, but you'll see that a lot. Sometimes you'll see it on both sides, but almost always, again, there's not an ever, but almost always, it's lack of ability to actually extend the hip. So they lack hip extension. So because that, they can't get their knee technically behind their butt. And now I'm asking them to get that knee behind their butt, and they're like, I don't want to. So let me externally rotate because I don't have hip extension.
And then it opens the pelvis. So they don't have to do the extension anymore. They just turn the pelvis open and pull the leg out to the side.
Yeah, and so usually you'll see that with somebody who has, typically, like if you look at somebody, you're like, wait, they have no butt. Like, literally they have no ass. Like they sit in a chair, how do they not just like
Sad.
fall out?
Very sad.
Like, what is wrong? Like, this is concerning. Like, we need an ass program. But basically, like,
It's an important muscle.
it is.
It's
yeah.
a vanity muscle, but it's a very important muscle.
Yeah, that
Does a
like
lot.
you guys all have insurance, right?
Yeah.
They
Right?
think-
Y'all have like car insurance or something.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, every human needs insurance, right?
I got too old for that shit.
AAA, you've all heard of AAA? AAA insurance, yeah, abs, arms, and ass. That's all you need to train.
Yep.
So, bad dad joke all day.
Sorry.
But
I had never heard that before. Triple insurance,
the guy I first worked for, all his programs were just like ridiculous boot camp style. And he's like, we're doing a AAA like insurance policy plan. And he marketed it, abs, arms, and ass. And it like sold like crazy. It was trash, but it sold like crazy.
That's the plan we write.
A lot of muscle groups.
That's the plan we write for Mike. Mike only wants abs, arms, and ass, right, Mike? Thanks, buddy.
That's right.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. But usually, like, if they don't have that, they have a very flat back. So they're kind of in this posterior tilt, or they're just like almost shifted backwards and they're in a completely flat lordosis type, no longer lordosis type of position that they can get to. And so because of that, they can't get their leg behind their back. So we have to like work on hip extension for the back leg. Does that answer? I know you're talking more on the whip aspect, but
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and none of these movement patterns are wrong. Wrong is also a moral statement. Good and bad, wrong, right? So just remember that. Morals don't apply to movement patterns. So if you work with someone, you have them come in, don't make them feel morally wrong for the way they move. Just look at the way they move and be like, hey, great, good starting point. I notice, because you guys will be more educated, you're missing, well, this is in your head, you won't say that to them. I'm noticing they're missing some hip extension. Awesome. I can see that that's how they're compensating, external rotation of the or of the femur and opening the pelvis up. So what are you going to work on? You're just going to work on hip extension and see if you can't clean it up a little bit. But you keep that verbiage even away from them. You just say, great, I know what we're going to work on. We're going to make your butt really strong. It's going to look better. You're going to love it. And I think you're going to move a little bit better. And you just move it forward from there. So just notice how someone moves. Ask how they're feeling. If they feel great, great. If you feel like you could add something beneficial to their life, their movement pattern, whatever, do that. But don't just try to clean shit up because you're like, that's not technically perfect. Because you're dumb if you do that. Please don't do that. For the love of God. Make people feel better, not worse, about how their body moves. Everyone already hates their body. Breathing. I think this is Joseph's favorite thing. But inhalation, exhalation, a lot of pelvic floor information you can find. Pelvic floor is down here. It's also up here where your diaphragm, things move up and down. Inhalation aids in core stabilizing. Diaphragm descents. Exhalation, diaphragm comes up, stabilizes. It's like if you've ever braced, you breathe in, then you try to breathe out with a closed mouth. Tightens everything down, okay? What's next? There we go. Muscle action and movement. Muscles only pull.
I need to sit down.
You guys can stand. It's all right. Muscles only pull. This is my silly, funny, I'm boring at a party thing to say to someone. Muscles only pull. Does anyone disagree with this?
Do they stretch?
Do muscles push? Think about what they do. Levers and mechanics. Do they push or pull? All muscles. What are they doing? They're trying to bring one bone closer to another bone. Only. They can only pull. But through fun mechanics and physics, if I push someone away, what's happening to my tricep? It's closed right now, right? It's pulling my forearm open because it connects from there to there. Okay? If I push, something goes away from me, it's pulling my humerus closer to my sternum, chest, whatever you want to say. Okay? So muscles only pull.
I'm not saying anything.
This is because muscles are made of fibers that can contract. They can only contract. They cannot extend, so they can't push away. Maybe they can create some pressure sometimes
Which pushes away
in the cavity, but the muscle can only contract itself. Don't listen to him. They can only shorten but not extend on their own. When muscles contract, they pull two bones that are attached closer together. Okay, that's what we're talking about, adductor whip. My adductor connects somewhere up here, somewhere down here, pulls my leg center line in and back, okay? So when I'm squatting and my knees are here and I want to produce more force, you'll see that. So when I squat, you'll see My right side does it a little bit more, but my legs come in and then extend like that. So I get a little bit of internal rotation, my femur, my adductors are pulling, my quads extend, my hips extend. Life's wonderful. I squatted 400 pounds, felt good about it. Anyway, the coordination of muscle actions in agonists, prime movers, antagonists, opposing muscles, synergists, helpers, and stabilizers allow for complex movements. It's a bunch of word salad to mean when I'm flexing my tricep, my bicep is relatively less active. When I'm flexing my bicep, my tricep is relatively less active. My shoulder has a bunch of bigger muscles on it, a bunch of little muscles on it. Okay, I've got teres major and minor. I've got my 4 rotator muscles, got my deltoid muscles. They all act on that joint to kind of keep shit together. Okay, like I said before, is there one internal rotator of the hip? There's like a billion of them. Okay, so I've got prime movers, opposing movers, helpers. My quad does the opposite of my hamstring. My glute does the opposite of my hip flexor, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that simple, but for this, it pretty much is, okay? Yeah, yeah, okay? So things help each other. Things do the opposite. When I am using my hamstring, my quad is slowing it down. When I'm using my quad, my hamstring is slowing it down, in layman's terms, okay? The muscles opposed to each other are helping keep things stable. So think of it like 2 pulleys coming back and forth. When I use one, the other is not off. It's gently slowing down and can help decelerate or keep things in a better position. If I cut off my quad and just flex, or if I cut off my hamstring and just flex my quad, in theory, I could keep pulling until my knee broke and went this way. There is some action from the hamstring to keep that joint a little bit more centrated or in its position to do what the hell it wants to do, which is kick stuff. That's the only thing your quad does is kick people. Remember that if you take anything away from this. Thank you. It doesn't do that, I'm lying. Anyway, so squat, hinge, push, up and down, pull, or forward and up, carry, lunge. What's everyone's favorite? Push where? Oh, wait, you leaned back. I thought you were going up, then you went forward. Your favorite's the chest press of all these movements. I love that for you. Okay, pull-ups. So don't get mad when we say calisthenics. We know what you're about. It's not a knock. I wish I could do calisthenics. I'm too thick right now. Can't do it. Pull, up or this way? Oh, you're calisthenics too. Why aren't we giving him a hard time? We're only giving Jake a hard time. He's Mr. Calisthenics as well. You're up next, buddy.
Yeah, he's double the amount because he wasn't here last week.
Shit. Hey, Jake. Jake, that's our apologies, buddy. We forgot about him. you got it, brother. That's all right. Do you like split squat or lunges?
I like split squat.
Yeah, this is how we know she's broken like us. I know. We also love lunges.
I like split squat with the little pin thing, a big old dumbbell.
She's a dog. You guys get
Really sore the next day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Every time.
Okay, this squat. One of the most fundamental and complex movements in strength training involving coordinated actions across several joints and muscle groups. What does it benefit? Give me some answers on day-to-day stuff people do when squatting. Like, what's a squat?
The toilet.
The toilet? Give it up and out of bed?
Maybe picking something up.
Love it.
Couch.
The lower stuff. I was gonna say toilet.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Getting out of your car, getting off the,
into the
huh?
lower
Yeah. Yeah, getting in the lower cabinet. So this is something we hear all the time.
I'm talking about eating.
What are you doing?
Just wondering why she was getting in the lower cabinet.
Yeah, that is a good question. Are you hiding?
I understand.
Are you in someone else's lower cabinet? You're hiding in a cabinet? We're going to scare someone?
Harry Potter. Apparently that's where she eats.
Fair. Huh?
She eats food in the cabinet. Harry Potter.
That's a closet.
Same thing.
He's, don't act like you've seen it. Don't act like you've seen it. Don't do that. And if you make a Lord of the Rings reference, you better come correct because you're going to upset me if it's wrong. Just remember that. Don't do that to me. Anyway, the squat, we hear all the time.
I wish I could tell you.
Anyway, disrespect. We hear all the time, people come in and say, my doctor told me I can't squat anymore, so don't make me do that. Do you think they've stopped peeing? or getting in and out of their car, or getting on the couch? Probably not, right? So squatting has this weird connotation that it has to be loaded with a bar on your back, it has to be heavy, and they've got to do it that way. Is that true? So if you are a clinician, if you're going to PT school, or a PT, AT, working with people who are scared to squat, just remind them that they have to go to the bathroom sometimes. They have to get up and out of the couch, especially after surgeries, ACLs, hips, whatever. They have to move. They have to be able to move. It's a foundational movement pattern because if you take it away from someone, they end up in a care facility. If I have a 75-year-old human who cannot squat anymore, they can't go to the grocery store because they can't get in their car. They can't go to the bathroom. They can't just pee themselves in bed all day, and they can't lay in bed all day. Well, they can, but you need supervised care to lay in bed all day for reasons. If you've ever had family members, unfortunately, that have to be in bed all day, they get sores, their muscles atrophy, blood will pool one side of their body. It's not a good position to be in. So we're trying to keep people squatting as long as humanly possible. Maybe that means a 9-pound goblet squat to start. Maybe it means a 5-pound goblet squat to start. Maybe it means a hand-assisted squat to a bench to start, which is where I started this client I've been talking about at, is where we started. And he came in and as well was like, I don't know how I'm going to squat. I can't squat like I used to anymore. And in his head, he had a preconceived notion about what squatting meant in this facility. So let's wash that away quickly. The entry point is getting up and down off the toilet. It's getting up and down off the couch. It also smooths that conversation over almost instantly. With everyone I've had that's not true, not everyone, almost everyone. It's a very quick one to be like, oh, you don't pee anymore? Do you pee standing up? Normally is what I ask if I know they're a little bit goofy, if they can handle a joke. I'll say, oh, do you pee just standing now? And they're like, well, no. I sit down. I'm like, oh, how do you sit down? Well, I go like this. And I'm like, oh, got it, cool. So we just did a bunch of squats. Everyone can grab a 5-pound dumbbell or whatever dumbbell you want, actually. Let's do some squats.
I'll do 10 then.
Go grab the 100. I'm not going to stop you.
Be a small one.
Be a dog.
You want to be average?
Actually, none of you are allowed to touch the top row. No.
Are we getting one or two?
Just one. Hey, don't do that to me. All right, so let's do some goblet squats.
You made me work out now.
Yep. However you want to do them. I don't know, 5, nice and slow. Get all the way down to the bottom and hold for a second. Not like that. Hypermobile people doing this is not fair. Let's go like hips parallel with knees and then stop moving. Parallel with knees. You a little bit lower. Perfect. Come on.
Wait, what?
Parallel. This in line with this.
Oh, yes.
A little bit lower. Calisthenics boys don't know. You calisthenic boy. We'll leave Jake alone with this. Okay, what's burning?
My quads.
Great. Any glutes?
Not really.
Little bit, but not really.
A little bit.
Do you know why your quads maybe would be burning a little bit more than your glutes in this position with a weight?
I don't know what I'm done doing this.
Someone answer it. You got to stay down. If you're going to answer, you have to be down in the squat. Why are your quads burning a little bit more than your glutes would be with the weight out in front of you?
Because I'm holding up my body.
Huh?
There's more weight in
Yeah, the load's in front. You can put the weight down. Okay, you did. I didn't hear you. My bad. So we put the weight out in front a little bit more. The weight's out in front like a counterbalance. I hold this in front. It lets me sit a little more vertically. It gives me a little more knee flexion, My quads are more active. I have less load relatively to my glutes. If I put that weight down low on my back, and then I squat, my shins stay a little more vertical, my hips take a little bit more of the load. So wherever the weight is, front to back, kind of dictate a little bit. It's also not a perfect thing to say, but it will dictate a little bit where the load is relative to the muscles, okay? The glutes are still active if you do a front squat. The glutes are still active if you do a Zercher squat. The glutes have to be active. If there is a joint and it has been mobilized under load, it will contribute to the movement, period. So if I'm doing a bicep curl like this and all I feel is my shoulders, I'm still getting some action in my bicep. I might be getting a little more action in my shoulder. But anytime I put a joint under load and bend it, it's going to get some load. Now, whether or not it is the primary mover or secondary mover is up for a little bit of form tweaking. But just when you're watching someone, if it's moving, it's working. You can't not. Like if I go like this, is my bicep active? Is it hard? No, but it's active, okay? So even in some rehab situations, you've got a 1 pound dumbbell. Let's say your bicep was reattached here. That's probably your starting point, and that's probably enough load on the joint to do what we want to do, which is get it to adapt. Make sense? Yeah? Okay,
Do it with the weight.
we know what it benefits now.
Dude.
I don't even think about that.
Yeah.
Doing a Nordic hamstring curl from that thing.
What else would you?
We.
What other areas?
Are you not here? We
What'd you
tested
say?
that out?
Oh, that's right. That's
What'd you
right.
say?
Yeah, the
No.
Oh, that weird thing we have in the back that
Yeah.
takes forever to get, but that's really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say like.
I love that.
It's
Workout
just
plan.
too hard because you're very internally rotated. So it's hard for me to absorb force as I go down.
Oh, because he's too narrow. It's
Uh,
actually because he's a big baby and he just doesn't want to admit it. So don't worry about that, guys. All right. So we kind of understand what it benefits and why it's beneficial, right?
Yeah.
As we get older, like you guys have no idea, unless you've had like a major surgery or injury, why it's so important that you squat for as long as possible. You guys don't know. You still on your parents' insurance. That's not a knock, most of you. Huh?
I'm realizing.
Yep. You have never dealt with not being able to squat unless you've been injured, had surgery, etc. When that gets taken away from you, it's wild. And that normally doesn't happen until like mid-40s. Sorry, I didn't mean to look at you, buddy. Huh? But if you haven't exercised, we have seen people come in here in their late 40s, 50s who have a hard time squatting. So it goes away quickly and you don't realize it's gone until all of a sudden it's gone, okay? So very important. Thoughts, feelings?
They're hurt.
Oh, sorry. I said that because he's 40. Okay, where do you want to feel the squat? Quads and? Yes, so we can make this squat a little more active on different muscles depending on our shin angle, how much load is behind us, etc. So what I was saying about quad activation, hip activation, if I'm in this, imagine I'm squatting, my chest is really vertical, and my knee is flexed this much, and I go to stand straight up, what is primarily doing the job here? My quad. I'm going to do essentially a leg extension to stand up through this. If I get a really vertical shin here, like this, and I get a lot of load in my hip, now what's going to push me out? My butt. I don't have a very big bend through my knee here, okay? So my quad's not the most active. It's still active. It has to be because it's bent, okay? So when I stand, it's a lot of hip. Oh my God, that was my ass. And a lot less quad. So it kind of depends on the angle of the hip, the angle of the knee. I still will get a quad burn from that, but my glutes will be on fire, okay? So when you're watching someone squat, there's no right or wrong. Low bar squats are going to be a little more hip dominant. High bar squats, goblet squats, heel elevated squats, a little more quad dominant. But I want to be very clear about that. It's a little more quad dominant. It's not like you get no glute or no quad. You just get less glute, more glute, less quad, more quad. And it depends on what your client's goal is. If they've got good quad strength and they just want to grow the peach, great. Are we doing a lot of knee flexion-based squatting? Probably not.
Reason I quit squatting.
Why?
My quads are down there. I wanted to grow my glutes.
Fair. I understand that. But yeah, so it depends on your goals. If Abby's like, I just don't care about my quads I think are big enough for what I care about, and I want my glutes bigger, is she gonna be doing a lot of knee flexion based movements? Oh, she can do
Do quads.
yeah, still do them, but not the way you do hip flexion movements, right? Sure. So
I mean, still, you look at EMG testing, the movement that actually can get more glute than any other from a total load stance is still the squat. So even though like hip thrusts are like known to be the move because you can isolate, they've shown that you're going to get more muscle activation during a heavy weighted squat on the glutes than on the hip thrust. So that's where it's still like, yes, it's a quad based movement. Yes, it's knee flexion, but it's still very glute dominant. So
Yeah.
do it, but yes, and then
Yeah,
still
add
go
some
hit
stuff.
those other ones. But
and the nice thing with hip thrusts, if you're trying to grow your glutes, and you've done a lot of deadlifts, RDLs specifically, most people don't do deadlifts to grow their glutes, they do RDLs. If you've done a lot of RDLs and your back's starting to get a little sore, hip thrust just takes your back out immediately, and now it can isolate the glute a little bit more and just, absolutely rupture what we have left and leave the lower back out of it. So they are a great, my lower back's hurts, still want to work glutes, great RDL. Is it the most optimal? No, but also who cares? If you love doing them, do them. If you hate doing squats and literally you want to grow your glutes is RDLs and step-ups, or hip thrusts and step-ups, be my guest. Have fun with them. Was that about right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You on Instagram a lot?
What?
Are you on Instagram a lot?
Talk tick.
Talk tick.
She's on talk tick.
No, I was saying because that most glute growing accounts are step ups, hip thrusts. It's not a lot of big heavy squats, right?
Yeah, I did really heavy RDLs.
Yeah, deadlifts in my head are just any hip hinge, any big hip hinge. So hip thrust counts to me, but it's just a different position, no lower back load. Yeah, shorter range. Here's a cool tip for you. If you're doing it with a barbell, put a heel elevator under your feet. So like if you're doing a hip thrust,
I really just like force myself to keep my toes elevated.
yeah, the hip thrust or the heel elevator can help you push through it and get their glutes up.
I like the machines.
I have never used one, but they seem really nice. Okay, so we've gone over where we want to feel squats, maybe some adductors if we're going really heavy, if we're doing more Olympic style, some quads, some glutes, etc. Okay. Squat checklist, feet position. Now this is like a general framework with some loose corners and edges. Okay. So once we have like a general idea of how we want a squat to look, then we will talk to someone and I would say, hey Ruby, please show me how you squat. Now what, don't start yet, sorry.
Okay.
Let's look at, that was my bad. Let's look at feet position, foot position, whatever. Are her feet slightly shoulder width apart or wider?
Yes.
Yeah, right, maybe a little bit wider, but I'm not gonna say anything about that because I just wanna see how she squats. Toes slightly turned out, 10 to 30, sometimes I say 5 to 15, 30 can sometimes be a little bit aggressive, but if someone squats that way and they're comfortable, that's not 30. Anyway, were her toes slightly turned out? Yes. Okay, can you turn your toes straight forward for me? If she squatted like that, should I say anything? No. Before I've seen her do it?
Pull her up, please.
Come this way, sorry. Right there, wonderful. Okay, so if her toes were straight forward and I haven't seen her squat, should I say anything or alter anything? Probably not. There is one coach here who has crazy ankle dorsiflexion. Her toes are relatively straight, if not straight, and man, just collapses like an accordion and sits straight, exact like that, but even more aggressive. Her shins feel like, on video sometimes it looks like they flatten down to her toes. It's crazy. Her squat's crazy. However, I'm looking for those two general things. Weight distribution, keep weight evenly distributed through the midfoot and heel. Avoid lifting the heels or shifting weight to the toes. So the way I think about it sometimes, easy way, if everyone stands on both feet real quick, imagine there's pressure lights around your feet. If they're green, pressure's even. But put all the weight on the side of your foot, the blade of your foot on the outside, put them on the inside, and then lean to your toes, rock your heels, okay? If you're doing that, those lights go red. Does that make sense? So if the pressure's uneven anywhere, we get red lights. Try to make those green lights, which means you're not just on your heels, your toes can't flutter, you're not on your toes, your heels can't flutter, you're not out, you're not in. So a nice even pressure on the foot, almost like you're pushing it into the ground. Think there's a scorpion under your foot, you're gonna crush it. Don't do that, I love scorpions. So next, knees, track knees in line with toes. Ruby, can you turn to your right, please? Thank you. Track knees in line with toes, avoid knees caving inward. Especially on the way up, if we have some adductor whip, I love it. We push through it, great. On the way down, please, you know what knee valgus is?
No. I could do that.
Okay, do that on the way down. Does that look the most comfortable? Does it look great? Probably not. You've been a dancer?
Yes.
So probably very mobile. So asking her to do that, that feels really weird for me. I also have pretty not messed up, weird knees. So that feels like I have to actively do it. When I just watched her do it, it didn't feel like you had to try very hard to get there,
No,
did you? No, yeah. So is that a red flag to me? No, she's incredibly mobile. Would I load the shit out of her doing that? Maybe not. But if she came to me and was like, hey, I squat 200 right now, you want to see it? Yeah, great. And she squatted like that, I also wouldn't be that alarmed. It's a pattern that she has progressed to 200 pounds with no pain. Cool. Could we clean it up a little bit? Maybe she produces some more force? Probably. But, so no movement's bad. Movement that hurts, maybe we need to address it a little bit. Still not bad. Again, good and bad are moral issues. Sometimes you look and you're like, ew, don't like that.
As long as it doesn't hurt. It's okay.
I mean, like if you are someone who's competing, do we want you to use every mechanical advantage humanly possible to do this? Yes. Is that the most mechanically advantageous position? No. Probably not. So if she's competing, we're going to clean that up. If she walked into a powerlifting gym, she was like, I want to do this. This is my passion now. I love this. Here's my squat. 2 powerlifting coaches standing there, that squat's getting changed that day. Is it dangerous? No. Is it optimal? Probably not. If I have a client walk in, their goal is general health, mobility, and longevity. They show me a squat, and she does that same thing. She's like, man, every time I just get this gnarly pain right here. Maybe that movement's just produced a little too much sensitivity in that area. I'm going to change it a little bit, and we're going to go to this and see if we can't clean it up a little bit. They're too narrow. Their toes are really out. They go like that. There's a lot of pressure through the knee. It just doesn't feel good. So then we'll say, hey, I want your feet shoulder width apart, give or take. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. Can we try that? They do it. Maybe it doesn't hurt as much. Maybe it doesn't hurt at all. Maybe it feels the same way. Great, then we'll make some changes. But Ruby, can you squat for us a few times how you would normally squat? Do her knees track relatively over her midline of her foot?
Yeah.
Okay, she doesn't have any excessive butt wink back here, which we don't have on here, but yeah, okay, we do. So butt wink, maintain a neutral pelvis on the way down. That means she's not tucking really aggressively at the bottom, but again, that also falls into the same thing I just said. If they have some butt wink, is it the worst thing ever? No. Does it hurt? I would just watch her after. How does that feel? Low back feels pretty good. Cool. How do your knees feel doing that? Great. Do you feel in your legs and your glutes a little bit? Yeah. Awesome.
That's the one thing if I watch someone squat though, it bothers me.
The butt wink. You know what's really interesting? This weekend we talked about the butt wink quite a bit, and he was saying if we start in a lot of anterior pelvic tilt, remember I said no matter what, if it looks neutral the whole time, there's still up to 24 degrees, or there is about 20 degrees plus of angular motion in the lower back. So if I just go like this and pop my butt out, and then I squat and it rotates under a little bit more, maybe I'm just seeing that rotation a little bit more. And if there's no back pain, so I have a pretty aggressive butt wink sometimes. I also have pretty limited mobility in this ankle, which I think contributes to that. Also my hip, but another hip. I get a butt wink, that causes some low back disruption. It does not feel good to me, especially if I do like a full thing of it. It starts to get a little squirrely on me and can cause me to back my workouts off because it hurts so bad. Would that be potentially a problem? Yeah. I have worked around that. I have heel lifters to give me some more ankle mobility. I work on my low back mobility and pelvic and hip mobility so that my butt wink is a lot less and I'm not putting as much flexion, tension, or whatever's happening through my back, okay?
It kind of just takes the weight off of your legs and puts it on your back.
Yes, well, so not necessarily. I mean, that weight the whole time, like the weight's on my spine, right? If I have a back bar on my back, is the weight on my lower back, or is the weight on my spine right now? Imagine there's a bar on my back. Is the weight on my spine? Yeah. Okay. Is the weight on my spine? Yeah. Is the weight on my spine? Yeah. Is the weight on my spine? Yeah. Now maybe I get down to here and there's some more compression in my lower back because of my pelvis is tucking, my lumbar spine is flexing a little bit more. That might be what it is. I also know I'm flexion intolerant when my back hurts aggressively. There's been times where this is the best hinge I've got. I'm not joking. This is it. That's all I've got before it like locks my whole back up. Hasn't happened in a while, but I know that about myself. That is an issue. I'll address it. I addressed it. She doesn't have a notable butt wink. Maybe it happens under some load. Maybe it doesn't. That's fine. Spine and torso. Can you turn that way and squat again? Is her spine relatively neutral in the lower back up to her shoulders and neck? Stays pretty neutral, right? Okay. Chest up with a slight forward lean to the torso. Yeah? So we have to have some lean. Everyone's different. This coach I'm talking about at our other gym, Aubrey, can squat really vertical because her knees can flatten out. her ankles. Almost, it's wild. I wish I could show you guys.
Aubrey's the one who can do it?
Yeah, ask her to squat next time. Watch her. She has a video of her catching a snatch. Watch that video and watch how far forward her shins can get.
Watching her snatches.
It's wild.
I guess when I watch it, I was looking at her.
So the more ankle dorsiflexion I have, the higher I can sit up because my knees can come so far forward, I can keep my torso up. But if I've got really long femurs, all of you have femurs, your hips have to get out of the way a little bit before I can sit down. Everyone tighten your butt really tight. And then squat without using your hips. What happens? That happens, right? You can squat as far as your knees can flex. Now, get your hips behind you a little bit, hinge, get your ribs stacked, and then squat. Everything moves correctly, right? So we have to have some hinge backwards so that our knees can move forward. If you think about it, imagine my hand is a fist under here. This is my hip, this is my knee. They have to go like this so that I can collapse on it. It's like an accordion, okay? Those movements have to go that way or front to back so that I can move down, which means her hips have to come backwards a little bit so her knees can flex forward and she can drop into the squat. So does Ruby have a pretty good squat? Yeah, question?
Yeah, when Aubrey was squatting this weekend, obviously she is literally ass to grass, like
Yeah.
literally. And she has like a slight butt weak at the bottom. Is that normal for as people go lower?
Yeah, because your pelvis is running out of room. Your hip is running out of room in your pelvis to continue to slide. So if she could bring her torso perfectly vertical, even back a little bit, she'd have more room. But there's only so much room your hip has compared to your dorsiflexion, your ankle mobility. So if in theory, Abby could take her shin and flatten it all the way down to her foot, she could squat with a perfectly vertical torso because she would just dorsiflex all the way down. She's actually got really pretty good dorsiflexion. So squat as low as you can, keeping your torso as tall as possible in your normal stance. Do a normal squat.
Do a normal squat?
Do a normal squat. So at some point, go all the way down. Ask grass. At some point, everyone come stand here real quick. At some point, I'll go on this side. At some point, her hip can no longer keep sliding up this way, right? Like her pelvis is right here, and this femur is trying to come up that way. It will run out of room in the socket. Push your knees apart. That might clean up some of that pelvic tilt because she opens her femurs this way, allows the femur to slide up a little bit, and it doesn't have to tuck under to give her that space. Now lift your chest aggressively and try to stand your chest up. See how it kind of pulls her hips back out a little bit? So if she now rotate forward, like, yeah, see how that happens? So the whole spine is like wrapping around her leg, but if she drives her chest up with some thoracic extension here, see how it just pulls her pelvis out? Yeah. So sometimes now just relax and sit all the way at the bottom. This is a passive position. There's almost like no tension here. She's not pushing through her legs. I'm sure that's like, yeah, relatively comfortable. So she's just in a relaxed position here. If she wanted to be more active, she would just drive her chest up. See that? So sometimes, especially with me, I'm also relatively flexible. At the bottom of my squat, I'm just a little too passive, where I'm kind of just like sitting on the joints and there's not a lot of tension on the muscles. So I stop it, being a little more active, I stop it right about there. Because anything else, I know I'm kind of just like crunching myself into a ball and then having to snap back out. So thank you, Abby. Everyone give her a hand.
So,
Yeah.
What?
You ready for more? Think back to that slide where it was like absorption versus production. So Abby's going to drop all the way down.
Yep.
Yeah. So as she's going all the way down, what is eventually happening if she goes into that just passive hangout? Just go hang out down there. What happens to her butt? Tucks under? Yeah. So that's called counter nutation. And then when she comes up, it's going to flip back out and it's going to nutate, right? So that is a part of what is happening, which is why that whole pelvic talk position is so popular, because you get the anterior pelvic tilt, right? Which is nutation, it is going down. And then when you're like all the way within, you're getting counter nutation. So eventually you are getting this to where it's going to tuck underneath a little bit to give you a better base of support during absorption versus production, right? And it only matters more when we're having deeper level conversations later. Actually, yeah, perfect. Thank you. So counter nutation on the absorption phase, on the lowering phase, whereas you have nutation on the production phase. It's not an easy concept to remember, so here's how I can make it really easy. Everybody drop your chin. Cool. Did you just kind of nod? Right? You nodded down. Nutation in Latin means nod. So when I nod, I nutate, right? So my pelvis will go one way. When I counter nutate, it'll go the other way. But if you can just think, like if it tucks all the way underneath, that's absorption, right? And so like when I'm going into a deep step to actually like lower my center of mass, my pelvis is gonna tuck underneath so that it can actually like get more glute to actually stretch. So the glute can do what it needs to, the quad can do what it needs to. Then I'm gonna pivot out, and then we're gonna go into much more of that extension position. So now it's gonna nutate, it's no longer gonna counter nutate, so that we can get anterior pelvic tilt. So anterior pelvic tilt is what's gonna allow us to go up. So sometimes people demonize anterior pelvic tilt, right? But you saw, right? Pelvic tilt is posteriorly, it's completely dumped, then her butt shot back. That's okay. If we nutate that way, now she can get out of the hole. So that's another thing, like the knee thing that gets demonized. I don't want to demonize the whole butt wing thing because that is a part of us absorbing force to counter nutate, right? To actually like have it come up, and then to nutate is going to be to nod to let us go back up and through. Yeah. So just think, I nod, I nutate, my pelvis goes into anterior pelvic tilt.
And I don't have the mobility to not counter nutate too much. It puts a lot more load or strain on my back that it doesn't like. Because I have videos from the past where I would hit my hole in the squat and my whole pelvis would like tuck. Yeah, and that was causing some discomfort. But I've also watched people squat like 600 pounds with a tuck, punch out, and they're like, oh, it feels fine, which is wild. But it happens. Bodies are weird. Okay, so they squat great. Congratulations, Ruby and Abby. You squat fantastic. The brace your core before starting the movement. Maintain core tension throughout the lift. This really matters as we get higher in weights. It also matters when you're teaching someone how to brace properly. When we brace, it should not feel like you're bearing down, okay? If you feel like you're gonna pee when you brace, you are pushing the wrong direction, okay? So a brace or Valsalva is we take a deep breath and we are feeling like we're pushing it out through our throat, like, but don't let it push out. Okay, you'll feel everything come up. If you are bracing and it feels like you are pushing down, for the guys, it's probably not that, you won't notice it as quickly for reasons. For the ladies, you will notice it much faster. There are some anatomical reasons for this, but we don't want to be pushing that much pressure down through the pelvic floor. It is not good for the pelvic floor. Well, that's not necessarily true. It's not good in excess. Again, it's a preparation issue. If you're doing it all the time, constantly, you're just bearing down through your pelvic floor, you can start causing some dysfunction. There are people with very strong pelvic floors who concentrically and eccentrically can control it very well. So if you are doing a brace, you should have control of your pelvic floor as well. So if you can't do a Kegel while you're doing your brace, you are bearing down, please stop doing that. It should, Kegel, you flex the internal muscles of your pelvic floor.
Look up Kegel exercises.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, they're very important, especially like post-pregnancy and stuff. They're a very important exercise to be doing for some people. Not everyone has to do them, but not everyone will have pelvic floor dysfunction in their life. But if you have a kid, please go see a pelvic floor specialist because
you don't want to pee when you squat.
correct.
Yeah, you have to re-strengthen your one.
Yeah, it's very important. Depth, lower until your hips are below your knees, parallel or deeper as mobility allows. We do want to work into this position. For some people, I don't. There's some people who have hip replacements or anatomical changes to their hips, typically osteoarthritis that's relatively advanced, and they physically cannot get into that position anymore. Not like they've never done it or like, oh, I can't squat like that anymore. They physically cannot do it. There's some bony anatomy that is in the way of that position. It's not going to happen. You won't make it happen. A surgeon can fix that. You cannot fix that, okay? We do want to expose people to larger ranges of motion through load. It's better for motor unit control. It's better on their muscles. It's better for their synovial fluid, the motion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It moves stuff in and out of the joint, keeps more vascularity and fluid in the joint. It's much better, okay? If you want to come at me about depth and say partial range of motion is better, I will lambast you. So do it, but we will have a fun conversation. Great. Glad we're on board. Ensure the back stays neutral at the bottom. Avoid butt wink as much as you can. The point I made with you might be helpful if you squat that low. Take a video from the side and just see if you are moving into a very passive at the bottom or if you can keep a little more active. It might lift your range of motion up a little bit, but it will keep it in a more active range of motion rather than just like, if you can sit comfortably like that at the bottom, that probably tells me that there's not a lot of activation. The muscles are just slack and like, I'm hanging out, nothing big. Try to keep it a little more active. You'll
when I put my chest up, I feel it.
yeah, you'll get a little more purchase out of the legs. You get a little more tension on the legs. You won't have to go from nothing to something very quickly. Question.
I'm wondering if you have somebody that comes in for their assessment and, like, let's say you know that they have, like, hip issues, hip replacement, like, whatever, stuff like that, and they have pain through a not very good range of motion. Would you then, in your programming, and you're cueing with them, would you push them into that deeper range, or like not push them, obviously?
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But like, would you
Encourage
try
them.
and get into that deeper range of motion
Yeah.
without load, or would you load that range of motion, or kind of a balance of both?
Great question. Both. What can they tolerate? It depends on how far out they are from their hip surgery or total hip replacement. Hip replacements are crazy. I don't know if anyone in your family's ever had a hip replacement. Yeah? They're wild. It's an outpatient surgery now. They have the surgery, it's not very long, and they walk out the door. It's crazy. I just did another hip replacement. I didn't do it. I'm working with someone who had one recently. She's doing fantastic. The one thing I'll say, their glute muscle and their quad muscle, they don't know what those are anymore. Those are gone. So we have to work a lot on the activation of those two muscles specifically, but that hip is not going anywhere. It's probably better than the other one, probably a little bit better than the one they had before. So they are limited on external rotation and abduction for a while, so out and over, because the muscles and tendons have been screwed with a little bit, so they won't be as tightened down, and they can dislocate or separate, which we don't want. But once they're cleared from that, we can run that one till the cows come home, and I will push them as safely and slowly as possible as they can manage with their PT's recommendations, whatever they say they can handle. I am trying to load some mobility as fast as possible, or work on mobility as fast as possible, and then load that as fast as possible, which means like a lot of times PTs will give me a timeline, of like, we want to see hip flexion increase at this amount. I'll just work on that as fast as they are comfortable with working. But ideally, you want to get them maxed out on hip flexion, hip abduction, and hip extension as much as that joint will allow it to do. So like, I can't remember if it's 6 months or so, but if you get a joint replacement, you only have a certain amount of time to get as much range of motion as you can. And then if you haven't gotten that range of motion, it might be gone permanent. Like permanent's a hard word, but so we want to work on range of motion as aggressively as possible. And sometimes
After what?
hip replacement, knee replacements.
Do you see
Because
a big hip shift when people
oh
do the
yes,
squat?
yeah, almost like a single leg squat to the other leg. And that's because the other glute and quad have been messed with so much that the signaling's just not there, and they're like, I'm not going to work anymore. Thanks though. Ascent, drive through the heels and midfoot. So again, full foot pressure, drive through the ground. Maintain knee alignment with toes. On the ascent, I'm not as worried about this as we have talked about with the adductor whip. So if you ever watch me squat, I come out pretty well. I'm very stable. My joint centration is relatively good. On the way up, I don't think about it anymore. I just push as hard as I can. I get some whip. I push out. My hips feel great. I used to, like I think a few of you said, on the way up, I used to push my hips out aggressively. I don't know if this caused this, but it was causing a wild amount of pain. I had a very big problem with my hip that would radiate all the way down in my foot. It was terrible. I stopped doing this, kind of pulled away from the sunlight a little bit, felt a little bit better, changed it.
Like the head flexor?
Something in here was very sad with the way I was behaving. This area, trashed, gone. Not fun, hated it, everything sucked.